Hi, in this session we are actually going to inspect or experiment what is server controls in ASP.NET. Right now, under the Microsoft Visual Studio environment, I'm going to create a new project. This project, I'm going to create it inside my web_a_app folder, and I'm going to name this project as experiment. Experiment what? What is server controls? Okay, so I will just use a very meaningful project name, experiment server controls. So I'm actually going to just hit the OK button and wait for the project files to be prepared for me. And I will be observing the Solution Explorer in order to check out whether all the files has been created. So you notice that the Solution Explorer is right now displaying all the necessary files for a project, and I would like to go and add a new web form. Right, I'm not going to use the default.aspx. I would like to go and add a new web form for me to go and experiment a bit how to go and use a drop-down list server control. So right click and I'm going to select add a new item, and this item is going to be a simple web form, and this web form is going to be called FRM experiment drop-down list. So I have already chosen an ASP.NET web form, and I'm going to add it in. So I have an ASP.NET web form being created within the Solution Explorer, and notice that this is how I expand the files of this web form. This is actually what we call the presentation file. Presentation file is actually where we place our HTML tag, such as BR tag is a HTML tag, or for example the normal div tag. The normal div tag is also a good HTML tag that we all normally use, right? Then what about server tags? Yes, presentation file is also where we place our server tags, such as ASP:text box, right? ID equals to txt data. So this is actually a way how we tell our .NET engine that we would like to have a text box having a name called txt data, and it will only accept a maximum input of 50 characters, right? So we use server tag in order to go and define text boxes and other controls. Now let's come back to our main focus. What about drop-down list? Drop-down list. Okay, drop-down list, it should be ASP:drop-down list. Then let's give this drop-down list an ID, and I will call it LST. It's not one, right? It's not one, it's L. Okay, LST. Let's say this one, I'll just put LST country, right? Normally we will see a lot of drop-down lists that ask the user to go and select which country are you from, right? Then of course we must tell the .NET engine that this is going to be processed by our web server end, and that's it, right? This is actually the end of the creation of a simple drop-down list. Now let's take a look in the design mode. This is the source mode where we all provide our code in the presentation file, and when we are working on the presentation file, it is quite normal that we should have this habit to use the design mode to take a look our drop-down list. So I have already defined the drop-down list, and notice that the web form in the design mode is not showing us some problems. So let us try to go and simulate a problem, shall we? Let's just say that this is actually the ID property. Notice that this server tag, how many properties have I applied? Right, this is actually a property called ID, and this is the value of the property, which is LST country. Now let's take a look. This is another property, and it is called run@, and this is actually the value for the property, which is run@ equals to server. Okay, so in other words, this is also what we commonly referred as the attribute value pair, right? This is also what we usually call it as attribute value pair, or some developers would like to use property, right, value pair. Okay, so how does the .NET engine able to separate between the property and the value? This is the value, this is the property. Of course, from our human eyes we can see it, but .NET engine, you must educate them. See this equal symbol? Yes, this is actually the assignment operator. Now what happens if, let's say, someone actually just, whoops, I forgot to go and put an equal sign. Let's take a look at the design mode. You notice that it will show error creating control, right? Blah blah blah. No run@ equals server attribute present. on the drop down list tag. So back to the coding again, and I will actually set the equal symbol back. Now let's just say that I purposely remove away the assignment symbol here, right? So this is actually not a valid, this is not valid property value pair. Let's take a look at the design mode. Dun-dun! The drop down list server tag is not well formed. Okay, so you must be very accustomed or get used to trying understand all these messages, the meaning behind it. Sometimes you really have to guess your way out. Okay, done. So notice that I have already defined an empty drop down list. Let us actually view in browser. What do I mean by empty? Yes, it is empty, right? Will the drop down list appear? Yes, it will appear, but the user will have nothing to select, right? You'll notice that the ASP.NET development server is right now starting up, right, so that we can simulate our web form in the internal local laptop environment. So let me see, where is it? Oh, okay, this is actually the browser, and this is the empty drop down list, right? This is the empty drop down list. Oh my goodness. Now let us take a look. What is the translated HTML tag? What is the translated HTML tag? Right click, view page source. You'll notice that this is the translated HTML tag. It will be translated by the .NET Engine to the HTML equivalent, which is the select tag. Right now, normally, if we want to go and use, the server tag to go and define some items for the user to select, we will actually choose ASP::list item. Let's just say that I would like to go and have a list item, and it will have a unique value of 1, and this one I'm just going to call it Malaysia. Let's take a look. Let's have a look what will happen. Okay, right click, view in browser again, and then I will actually try to go and take a look at the browser. So Malaysia, yes, I can see the nice Malaysia here. So let me actually try another list item. Let us actually try another list item. Let's see. Okay, copy and paste. Then this one I'll have a value of 2, and this one I'll just call it as Singapore. Okay, Singapore, and this one I'm actually going to call it as Indonesia. Okay, Indonesia. Then this one is going to be represented by a unique value of 3. Okay, so each list item is actually trying to have 2 pieces of information, right? One is the value and another one is the text, right? The user is always interested in knowing what to select by reading the text. So let's take a look. You notice that I have already successfully used the ASP::list item to go and define items for the user to select. Right now, can the user easily select information? Yes, because the list item is doing its job quite nice to go and show all the respective text out for the user to select. But sooner or later, one day you will notice that our database is only interested with the value, like 1, 2, or 3. Okay, right, so let us actually also investigate what is the page source. What has the HTML code that the browser has received from the web server, right? You notice that right now, whatever that we have coded in the presentation file, this is the presentation file. This is the presentation file. Want me to go and type it out? Okay, I'm typing it out. Presentation file. Okay, so this is the presentation file, and let us actually have a look. What is the translated HTML code? It is a select tag, and the ASP::list item has been successfully translated to the equivalent option tag, right? Because browser understands HTML to display a drop-down list. Okay, so since we can actually use HTML code, we can use HTML code to let's say display a drop-down list. Why must we actually write server tags? Oh my god, I can use HTML. You see, like for example, I can just select. I can do this. Why not? LSD. Let's just say that this one I'll just put put a company. Okay, company. Right, company. Then after this one, I'll just name. I'll just provide LSD company. You see, I can actually just use a HTML tag to go and define a drop-down list. Right? Will the browser complain? Will the browser have any error? No, it won't. Right, so this one I'll just call it as company A. Right, company A. Okay, now let me come up with two more list items. Right, 2 more options. So this one is having a value of 2. and this one is having a value of 3, and this one is company B, and this one is company C. Okay, right, this one is B. Now let us actually investigate what will the browser display this time. If I refresh, I should see true drop down list. See, this is the drop down list which is defined by using our HTML code. Let us take a look. What does the browser receive? See, right, this is actually what has been this one. Yes, this one, right? This is what that has been typed inside the presentation file, the source code file, and everything seems fine. So if HTML can do it, why must we use server tag? Now you see, the thing is that definitely there is a reason, or else Microsoft would not actually just come up with a server tag for no reason, right? Microsoft have to invest a lot of money in this kind of tools and technologies for us web developers to use. So let us actually try to be more understanding and more investigative to find out why. Okay, now see, it is okay that you can use HTML code. It is also okay that you can use ASP:/drop-down list, but I would like to go and quickly give you a conclusion right now that if you use HTML code such as this to go and define a drop-down list, our C#, our server-side code, okay, server-side code will have problem to play or communicate with it. Okay, right, then let us actually come back to the presentation file again. Now if we actually use this, our server-side code, our server-side C# code will will have wonderful communication with it. Okay, means that we can write very good logic in order to provide good functionalities to the users as fast as possible, and at the same time we can also have time to rest, right? If you use HTML code, but it is best that we all learn how to go and use the server tag, right? Now let me actually just demonstrate why we say that our server-side code will have wonderful communication with the drop-down list, right? In order to show off the server-side code communicating with the drop-down list, I need to go and create a very simple div, and this div is going to be a server tag. Okay, now this one is called div message, and it is going to be a server tag, right? Why? Because of this run @ equals to server here. So I've already defined a div. Now you may not be able to go and see the div clearly, so I will just whack in a style type. Okay, I'll just whack in a style so that you can see the div clearer. Okay, right, so this is actually the style tag, and I'll just say that, hey browser, please, for this div tag, right, find this div tag having the ID of div message and make sure that its border is, let me see, 2 pixels, maybe like solid, and color, let me see, any sexy colors around? No, right? I'm not that, my mind is not sexy anyway, so this thing. Okay, now what about the font family? Who cares? I want font size, so this one I'll just put 20 pt so that my eyes is, well, more comfortable with it. So why do I want to have this div? Let me actually just refresh in order to go and make sure that, okay, I have a div, and you will notice that I will actually have the drop down list which is defined by using the server tag, and this div I should set a minimum height. I need to go and set a minimum height of 50 pixels and a width of a humble 30 pixels. Okay, right, I just want to go and set this one so that it can look like a box and not like a bar, right? Okay, so this div I'm going to use it to go and display some message. Now then I need a button, okay, button ID equals to btn test, right? The purpose of this web form is to understand server tag, especially drop down list. So I need a button so that I can put some code that will try to read what has the user select. Okay, so this one I'll just put test. Now, so I have a button. Let us take a look, check it out inside the design mode, right? I'm checking out inside the design mode. Everything is nice. When the user clicks on the button, I want C# code to take action on it, so I'm double clicking on the button, and immediately the event method is actually being created. This is what we call an event method. Okay, event method. What is the name of the event method? The name of the event method is btn_test_click. Right, so is that all that has been generated? You'll notice that at the server side code, it will actually tell you that this button is right now linked to the event method, and notice that this property value pair has already been automatically generated, especially when we double click on the button in the design mode. Okay, now what are we going to do here? We want to go and find out what has the user select. So normally I will always create a variable called collect. Let's say that this one is something to do with country, right? So collect country name, right? Collect country name equals to empty string, and then what am I going to use this country name for? Collect it from the drop down list lst country dot selected item.value. Then value. Okay, never mind. Right, I've done some mistakes, but I'm going to leave it on purpose. And this one I'm going to update. I would like to go and update the div message, the value inside the collect country name. Okay, so this is what I've done, and right now I'm a bit nervous because I sure hope that this one can work so that I can go and have my McDonald's when my wife is not around. So Singapore, let me see. You better work. You better work. You better. What do we expect? What do we expect to see in the div message here? You see, I've already created a variable, right? I've already created a variable. Create a variable, right? And then what is the next line? The next line is that I'm actually trying to get the selected value from the drop down list, right? This is what I'm trying to do, and right, place the value inside the collect country name variable that I've created earlier. And of course I need proof. Okay, I need proof, right? So I will prove it by displaying in the div message div server control. Okay, clear? So this is what I've done. Okay, this is what I've done, and right now it better work. It better work. Singapore can. What? 2? How come I see 2 here? Let me see. Malaysia? 1. Indonesia? 3. Oh my god, I want to go and show a name. It gave me a value. Why? Because I'm actually trying to get the value information which belongs to the selected item property that belongs to the drop down list LST country. What is selected item? Selected item will always represent the item that the user has selected. Selected item will always represent the item that the user has selected. Like for example, if I select Singapore, the selected item will represent Singapore. If I select Malaysia, the selected item will represent Malaysia. Okay, but I'm getting the value. I should take out the text. Let us actually take a look, right? Let us actually take a look. So right now I'm actually going to pray again, refresh, and then after that I'm going to select Indonesia and click test. What? Oh my god, what happened? I thought I've already changed. The reason is you really need to go and do some rebuild or some clean in order to go and make sure that the .NET engine does recognize all the changes done. Come back to the browser, less emotional, just select Malaysia again and click the test and say nicely to the browser, please work or else I'm going to uninstall you, and test. Let's see what it gives me. Malaysia. See, the browser is afraid, right? They browsers. Okay, so let us take a look. Indonesia, test. Oh nice, baby. Okay, so this is actually the end of the experimentation on the drop down list, and I hope you have a good idea of the server tag involved in defining the drop down list. Thank you very much. Thank you for your time.